Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. This is the first opportunity that I've had on this channel to talk about Kingdom Hearts, but I am a pretty big fan, I would say. I haven't played through every Kingdom Hearts game because I feel like every single gaming console has its own unique Kingdom Hearts game, but I have played through the majority of them, especially Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 for the PlayStation 2. So as you can imagine, it would be a dream come true for all of these games to come to the Nintendo Switch, but not in the way that they did. So for those of you who are out of the loop, Kingdom Hearts has a cloud version for the Switch. And if you aren't familiar with that term, cloud version is basically they run everything on their servers and send it to your Switch. This means that if your internet performance is really bad like mine is, then the performance of the gameplay will suffer tremendously. And obviously, I am a huge advocate for physical game collecting. So if I can't even get the digital version of this game, it has to be the cloud version, I am just out. I'm sorry. If I have to be at home to play these games, I might as well just play them on the PlayStation 4 and get a much better performance for it. So I guess the only Kingdom Hearts game that I can play natively on the Nintendo Switch would be Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. For those of you who are not familiar with the story, Kingdom Hearts is a long-running series of games with a collaboration between Disney and Final Fantasy, bearing a long, convoluted plot that even after playing through most of the games, I can't tell you necessarily what exactly is going on. But if you are trying to attempt to understand the story so far, I would recommend playing through this game because the plot of this game is mostly Kairi retelling the events of past Kingdom Hearts games, even some of the side ones like for the 3DS. There is new story additions to the whole series at the end of this game, but if you don't feel like playing through a rhythm game, I would recommend watching the video on YouTube or something. It's like a 20-minute video, and it actually is pretty relevant to the Kingdom Hearts series, so I don't know, maybe if you're a big fan and you want to follow along with it, I'd look it up on YouTube. So as I said, this is a rhythm game similar to something like DDR or Rock Band, but instead of notes, you have three characters attacking these Heartless and jumping to the beat. It's actually pretty exciting compared to like a normal rhythm game. The closest thing I can think of that I played through recently would be Sayonara Wild Hearts, where the actions just match to the beat and it kind of hides itself within a rhythm game into an action game where you have to like sometimes jump up to flying enemies, hit them, sometimes you have to use spells, hit enemies off to the side of the track as your three characters are running along. Some characters, like the heavier characters, take multiple hits, so you'll have to hit them and they get knocked backwards behind some of the other enemies. It's not as accurate as something like Rock Band, so if you just want to get like the highest performance to it, it's not so easily readable, especially if you are starting out and you aren't used to the mechanics quite yet. You might get a little frustrated. I would recommend looking at the enemies rather than your own characters, because your main character, at first for this team, it will be like Sora, and then Donald and Goofy will be back a little bit off to the sides. So don't look at those guys. Don't react to them when the Heartless get near those guys. There is a little circle indicator on the enemies, and when that circle is the small size, that's when you initiate your attack. But it really does get you into like the Tetris effect. You get into the zone after playing for a while. And I know, at least for my experience, I was hitting all of the notes once I really got a hang of like how the gameplay works. Yeah, you just get in like the zone where even like your foot starts tapping to the beat and your head starts bobbing, and you can really get into the rhythm of it. I actually prefer this style of gameplay because it seems a little more engaging, you know? Like you're fighting all of these Heartless rather than just tapping on these circles, these beats. I'm surprised I knew most, if not all of these songs, and thoroughly enjoyed the trip down memory lane, especially for the first two Kingdom Hearts. I just knew exactly what the song was and all of the beats to it, and I feel like that really helped out my gameplay. I think I struggled a little more with some of the later series, especially some of these spin-offs that I haven't touched yet, but I still was able to do all right with these. And I just want to say that I played this on standard difficulty, and you are able to choose any difficulty for any track. So if you want to bump it up to a harder difficulty, feel free. Your performance is measured by scores and also your party's hit points. So if you miss a lot of notes, these Heartless will hit you and you'll lose out on some of these hit points. You are able to attach items to help negate this. Things that will use automatically, like if you hit below 30% of your health, Sora will automatically use a potion to heal up. And you are able to craft some of these items through crafting. As you play along, you will unlock these crafting materials, and then you go to the synthesize shop and you can craft up more potions or things that will boost up your experience points gained for each level. Yes, there is experience points in this. However, the only thing that I found really changes every time you level up is your health pool. So you'll get more health and you'll be able to take more hits before getting a game over. I just want to say, in regards to this, however, I never got a game over playing on standard difficulty. I did try out a couple levels on the harder difficulty, and while they seemed a lot more difficult and I wasn't able to meet all of my objectives for each course, I was able to play through them without dying. Now, what are objectives, you ask? Well, there are 3 objectives tied to each song, and they vary from, defeat this % of flying enemies, land this % of combo attacks, don't get below this % of health, just things like that. Some of these objectives require multiple playthroughs, however, where it's like defeat maybe 150 of these flying enemies, and there aren't 150 enemies in the track, so you have to replay it over and over again if you want to get 3 stars on every song. I did not find this necessary, however. There are certain gates that impede your progress if you don't have a certain amount of these objectives met. However, I just played through each track the best I could, and I never had to go back just to get more stars in order to progress to further songs. The level select is pretty fun. You're just flying around in the gummy ship, and each of the worlds are represented here. And each world, well, at least most of the worlds have your song when you're out of combat, and then your song when you are in combat. I did find that the songs did not get progressively more difficult, however, it seemed like the difficulty maintained from the first song to the very last one. It doesn't have every world, every song, however, just some of the more popular ones. Like for Kingdom Hearts 1, you're not going to get a Tarzan level if you really like that track. But you will get stuff like Alice in Wonderland and Little Mermaid, those kind of songs. I will say, surprisingly, very little amount of Kingdom Hearts 3 representation here. I felt like there was more tracks for games like Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep rather than Kingdom Hearts 3. And the Kingdom Hearts 3 songs do play a little bit differently, where instead of fighting the Heartless as you run along this track, your character kind of flies above the track. And in the background, it just plays cutscenes from Kingdom Hearts 3. So kind of weird that they did that. And then there is a separate song mode where they are boss fights. And there was only maybe 3 or 4 of these boss fights, but it's kind of like a choreographed fight scene between you and some of these bosses, like Ansem, for instance. One of the things that bugs me when playing through this game are the character models do not change costumes as you are playing through each of the worlds. So if you haven't played a Kingdom Hearts game, when you would go to something like Halloween Town, your character's models, Sora, Donald, and Goofy, would get Halloween costumes to blend in with the world in order to prevent meddling while traveling across these different worlds, because you're not supposed to. Or like Little Mermaid, you will turn into this merman as you are playing through. But in this game, it just stays with the Kingdom Hearts 1 costumes. And if you're playing in a future Kingdom Hearts game, like Kingdom Hearts 2 tracks, you still maintain the Kingdom Hearts 1 costumes, which is, I don't know, it's kind of a bummer. Now, I noticed that the enemies do change corresponding to the level select, but not the characters playing. And they might do this because you are able to switch up your team. There are 5 different teams, and if you don't feel like playing through Sora, Donald, and Goofy the whole game, you can play as Riku or some of the Organization 13 members. And then there's just additional little fun stuff, like you can get achievements if you are chasing after a completionist run here, or there are collectibles where you can craft cards and view cutscenes from previous Kingdom Hearts games. It's kind of like a one big celebration for the Kingdom Hearts series as a whole. So if you're a big fan, and if you don't mind playing playing through rhythm games, I really do recommend this, especially if you need like a refresher on this whole convoluted story. Yeah, I think it was pretty fun. So I gotta say, when this game was first announced, I kind of rolled my eyes like, really? I just want like another Kingdom Hearts game that I can actually play on the Switch, and you announce a Kingdom Hearts rhythm game? That is so Kingdom Hearts in a nutshell. I was very skeptical of this game, but after the credits rolled, I was just sitting there asking myself like, whoa, did I actually like this game? And I think I had a lot of fun playing through this rhythm Kingdom Hearts game, surprisingly. It was just, it was fun going through and killing all these Heartless to the beat and just getting in the zone and just listening to some of my favorite tracks, because Kingdom Hearts has a really good song selection. I really enjoy the music, and good music in a game can take a game pretty far, in my opinion. So at the end of the day, I think I surprisingly have to give this game a 4 out of 5. I had a good time playing through it, even though it wasn't like a main Kingdom Hearts game that I can play. But yeah, it's, especially if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, I'm not sure if you are more of a rhythm game fan rather than Kingdom Hearts. I'm not sure if you will enjoy this as much as I did. But if you are a Kingdom Hearts fan, if you don't mind a fun rhythm game, I would recommend it, actually. Well, guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, or Kingdom Hearts in general, and I want to talk about your fandom. Let's geek over the series. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!